Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the 2016 spring season of Authors Authors. As many of you know, we are celebrating over 20 years of the Authors Authors series presented by the Toledo Blade and arranged by your Toledo Lucas County Public Library. My name is Jason Kuchma. I am your Deputy Director at the library, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you all here tonight and to welcome up our guest of honor this evening. Before we get started, I want to do a few housekeeping items. Those are always fun, right? If you wouldn't mind, please silencing your cell phones or your pagers if you traveled here from the 1990s. I also want to remind you about some of our upcoming Authors events. So in April, we'll be celebrating National Poetry Month with award-winning Poet Laureate for Los Angeles, Luis Rodriguez, on April 14th. And on May 20th, we'll be welcoming Emmy Award-winning creator of The Simpsons and Futurama, Matt Groening, along with his best friend, award-winning graphic novelist Linda Berry. You can read more about those events and get your tickets, which I would urge you to do as soon as you leave this evening, at toledolibrary.org. So back to the matter at hand, our guest this evening. To say that we are excited about our guest would be a little bit of an understatement. This near sellout crowd would suggest you are all equally excited. And why not? He is an icon. He's a legend. From high school to college to the pros, our guest dominated the sport of basketball. He dominated it so much that in college, the NCAA banned dunking to try to keep up with him. Did it work? It did not. He pivoted, he adapted, he reinvented his game, and that reinvention and adaptation has followed him throughout the rest of his remarkable career. I could run through a laundry list of things that he's done in this amazing career so far, but we thought it'd be best for you all to see a short clip of some of those amazing, remarkable achievements, both on and off the court.
Take your gloves off. Let's hear it. Here is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
So between my sophomore and junior year, the rules committee decided to eliminate the dunk. I don't think they were thinking about the fact that I had the hook. I had more than one shot.
He was the first to play 20 years in the NBA. Unstoppable most nights, he perfected his trademark skyhook on the way to an amazing 38,387 career points. No NBA star, not Chamberlain, not Robertson, not Bird, not Magic, not Jordan, scored that many career points.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the executive editor of The Blade, Kurt Frank, and our guest this evening, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Well, thank you, everyone. Kareem, for the next 45 minutes, we're just going to have a friendly discussion, and we've invited 2,000 of your closest Toledo area friends to enjoy this presentation that we're going to have tonight.
Well,
so we're going to have a wide range discussion on a variety of topics. We're going to talk basketball, obviously. We're going to talk a little bit about this book that he's been trained well to brand. We're going to talk about your former coach, your acting, your writing, which touches me, and your love for music and some other topics. Let's, after that, I'm going to get a high sign about 40 minutes from now saying, let's start wrapping things up. And then we'll open the audience and ask them if they have some questions for Kareem for 15 to 20 minutes. But let's start out with childhood. At 9 years of age, you were already 5'8". And I assume that everybody said, this guy's got to play basketball. Was there pressure for you to play this sport, or did you want to do it?
I wanted to do it, but actually my real first love was baseball. I was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan, a big Jackie Robinson fan. So baseball really was the first sport that I was like passionate about. But the fastball wouldn't go over the plate, and I couldn't hit it that well, so basketball loomed up, and fortunately I did have the skills that made me an effective basketball player.
Being tall, I'm only 6'4", you're 7'2". It's an awkward situation when you're growing up, and then later on, did you find that you kind of stood out? Was it from a standpoint that you were kind of self-conscious?
Well, you know, when you stand out, you want to do whatever you can to fit in. You want to fit in with everyone else. And when you're head and shoulders taller than everybody else, that's very difficult. So it kind of like forced me inside and made me kind of shy, you know, because everybody always would notice me first. Nothing wrong with that, especially when there's pretty girls around. That wasn't always the case. So.
Let's go back to baseball. Who was your role model in baseball growing up?
My role model, number one, was Jackie Robinson, Brooklyn Dodgers. Big fan. Roy Campanella and Duke Snider and Jackie Robinson. I worshiped them. I wanted them to win every year. I hated the Yankees. I still hate the Yankees. So that didn't. That never changed. And then they left New York in 1957. I cried. My mother had to console me. And then 8 years later, I followed them to LA. It was amazing. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little basketball now. From high school, the game has changed over the years. It changed even in by the time you got to college, they gave up the dunk and all that kind of stuff. How has the game changed, in your opinion, going from high school to college to the NBA?
Well, I think the game has gained increasingly better athletes. first-rate athletes from all over the world now want to play basketball. I never thought that that would happen. When I retired, basketball wasn't that popular worldwide, and in these 20 years, geez, it's been 27 years since I retired. It has gained in popularity, and now you have players in the NBA literally from around the world, just every continent and all different types of cultural backgrounds. It's a pretty amazing thing.
Now, do they play the game? How's the defensive play in the NBA? Has it changed over the years you were playing to what they're doing now? Do they defend like they used to when you were playing the game?
They don't defend like they used to because they don't allow hand checking now. So, they can't stop you from attacking with the ball by touching you. And that really changed the game. It made it a much more offensive-orientated game. So I think that is one big difference. And now with the three-point shot, you got guys like Stephen Curry who can bury 40-foot jump shots on a regular basis. I never thought I'd see something like that, and there he is.
You told me something interesting about three-point shot today when I met you earlier, that you weren't the greatest three-point shooter. Is that true?
Oh, I was a terrible three-point shooter. I only made one. But I did make one. After I made it, I didn't shoot anymore.
But you were famous for the skyhook.
Yeah.
Tell our audience, how did that develop? Did you start that in high school?
No, I started shooting the skyhook when I was in grade school. My grade school coach, Farrell Hopkins, knew a guy that had played at Manhattan College, and he helped him coach us crazy kids. And they said, look, Kareem is very awkward. He doesn't know what he's doing out there. Give him a drill or something to do where he can develop some agility. So he gave me the George Mikan drill, which was, for those of you who don't know, George Mikan was a great player. He played at DePaul University, and then he played for the Lakers when they were in Minneapolis. They won 5 NBA championships, and he was the mainstay of the team. And he shot the hook shot, and he had a drill that he did where he shot it with either hand in front of the basket. So this guy's name was George Haydick, and he showed me this drill one day, and that's all I had. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, that's all I had to work on. So I just worked on a hook shot, and it helped me develop the footwork and the touch off of the glass with either hand.
Now, who came up with the term skyhook?
Skyhook is a term that was developed by Eddie Doucette, who was the play-by-play guy for the Milwaukee Bucks. And during my first year in the league, he was marveling at how I shot the ball, and it's in the sky, and then he started calling it the Skyhook, and the name stuck.
That's interesting. Let's talk about John Wooden. You move, and I'm going to put on my parental hat here. You move all the way from New York, go to California, which is thousands of miles away. Was that a tough transition for you?
It was and it wasn't. Going to play at UCLA was my dream come true. Although the cultural differences between New York and Los Angeles are pretty acute, and at first I felt that I didn't fit in, but after a year or two, it was pretty easy.
Did you look at any other schools, maybe a school around here?
I looked at a school around here called the University of Michigan. Yeah. 1965, I was recruited by Michigan. I visited campus and got to meet Cassie Russell, wonderful guy, wonderful man. But let's see, I visited the University of Michigan about this time of the year. And then I went and visited LA.
Didn't take you long to make a decision, did it?
Michigan lost out on that one.
Let's talk.
The people were great, though. I really liked meeting the athletic department, Coach Strack, Cassie, all the players, wonderful people. I had a nice visit there.
That's great. Let's talk about John Wooden for a second. Your first impression when you meet this man, he was a legend even before you got there. What was that like? My
first impression of John Wooden was when I went to UCLA for my recruiting visit, and he was so straight-laced. I was just very by the book and buttoned down. He was someone that he was out of a different era. He was born in 1910, so he learned about life and basketball during the Depression, which is not an easy time. But he was a wonderful man. He had a lot of quaint things about him. Parted his hair down the middle of his head. Unusual person for me to meet. I've been born and raised in New York City, and not many Midwestern types in New York City.
Did he teach you? You already knew a lot about the game, but did he teach you some mechanics of the game as a coach? Because I have a follow-up question to that as well.
He really didn't teach me very many mechanics. I had everything. I'd learned everything before I got there, and I attribute that to my high school coach, Jack Donahue. And he told me to go watch Bill Russell, and I might learn a few things. I certainly learned a lot, and I already had the hook shot. So Coach Wooden basically just told me how to use the tools that I had developed to that point. And then, of course, I worked in his system and learned what he wanted me to learn. But that was really what Coach Wooden taught us. Really was how to react as a group. So he wanted to teach the UCLA players how they needed to react to different situations in the game as 5 guys, not just as a bunch of individuals. So that's why when you asked me earlier what I got from Coach Wooden, it had to do with preparation and teamwork. That was essential to how he taught the game.
He didn't like the media, did he? He didn't like the press. Is that a fair enough question?
Well, no, I don't think he disliked the press. But what happened was there was so much attention that I brought to the program. And plus, they were 2 times defending NCAA champions. So everybody was focused on them.
Yeah.
And then they got me, and people expected more of the same. So the press were constantly agitating and asking for interviews. And he got fed up with us and told us it'd be better if we didn't talk to the press. And I took that attitude with me into the professional ranks, which is something that really harmed my career because people thought I was hostile. I wasn't hostile, I was suspicious. And I let my suspicions overcame me, my better judgment, because you have to work with the press when you're a professional athlete. They report what you do to the fans. They're a key element in what you do for a living.
Now, when you played basketball there, freshmen weren't allowed to play basketball at that time. Is it true that your freshman group beat the varsity team?
UCLA had a varsity freshman game, and it was very, well, let's just say it was confusing. We beat the varsity, we beat them by 15 points. They were the defending NCAA champs, so they were number 1 in the country, but number 2 on campus.
Who was on that team with you?
Myself, Ken Heitz, Lynn Shackelford, Lucius Allen, and a guy from Houston named Kent Taylor. Needless to say, after that year, Coach Wooden never had the varsity freshman game again.
Let's go into the NBA for right now. Who's the best non-NBA player you played against?
Non-NBA player?
Non-NBA.
Wow, that's a tough one.
And then I'm going to come back to the NBA after that. Non-NBA. Now, let's go back to college. Let's go to that.
Okay.
Who was the best? Didn't play in the NBA, but you played with him in college.
Jeez,
against him in college.
I couldn't name anybody that didn't. All right, I'd say possibly Rick Mount.
Okay.
Played at Purdue. And went into the ABA and only played 3 or 4 years and quit, so I never played against him. And he was a great player. We played against him in the NCAA finals my senior year.
And who is the best NBA player you played against?
Geez, I played against a lot
Okay, give me 5.
5, okay. Karl Malone, Larry Bird, Oscar Robertson, Jerry West, Elgin Baylor, Will Chamberlain. I can keep going.
Yeah,
Kevin McHale. There are other guys. I just need to Just
Okay, we'll come back to it.
Okay.
You can jump in any time here.
Okay.
We always hear about Michael Jordan be the greatest. What do you think when you hear about Michael Jordan? You got more records than he does, in my opinion. But Michael Jordan gets all the pub.
well, I think Michael Jordan gets the accolades because he was spectacular to look at. You know, I was just standing there. I shot a quick hook shot, but my shots went in. See. That was my saving grace, but there was nothing spectacular about what I was doing. It's just I was so consistent over so long a period of time. I was able to score as many points as I did. But Michael was dynamic. You know, he could leap and shot those jump shots. And
He was pretty, I'll give you that.
yeah, his tongue hanging out of his mouth, and he was amazing. I have to give that to him. His first year in the league was the 84-85 season. He got hurt that year. We won the world championship that year. And then I had 4 more years in professional basketball. He was the leading scorer in the NBA each of those 4 years. I mean, he was one of a kind.
Now, you can't pick up a newspaper, turn on TV, if you're interested in the NBA and hear about Golden State. How do you rank that team? Are they beatable? Will they win the NBA championship?
I would pick them to win again. And I think anytime you have that many guys that can shoot the ball from that far away from the basket, that's an impossible team to guard because they get very far away from the basket. They can make those shots and they can attack the basket dribbling. So you got 4 guys at least. Bogut isn't a perimeter player. But the rest of the guys are perimeter players. They can hit the outside J, and they can attack the basket, and they can pass. So you go up on them and play them, they go by you. People come to help. They leave other people open. They hit the open guy. That guy usually can make that jump shot. It's a very tough team to play against. And I understand where they're coming from because the architect of that team is Jerry West, who was the architect of the Showtime team. He knows how to pick them.
Was Jerry West, I've read before that you put Jerry West in that group of great players. Was he one of the best in your time?
Oh yeah, he was one of the best in my time. And then as a general manager, he's one of the best. Jerry West, Pete Newell, and Bill Sharman were the brain trusts for the Lakers. And Dr. Buss was smart. He understood that he didn't understand hoops. He let those guys make the choices and the tough choices. He let them make them, and they always did the right thing for our team and enabled us to be a dominant team for 10 years in the 80s. Yeah.
Now, do you talk to many young NBA players as they come in and give them guidance, give them advice, tell them anything that's important about life?
I will if they come to me and ask me. I don't try to seek people out because a lot of those guys feel that they know everything that they need to know.
If I'm an NBA player, I'm coming to you and I'm saying, Kareem, give me some advice. What would you tell me?
I would critique his game and then show him where he could improve. I had a really good relationship with Joakim Noah and worked with him the summer before he was named Defensive Player of the Year. I felt I had something to do with that. Other players I've worked with, Andrew Bynum.
Do you give them non-basketball advice?
Yes.
What do you tell them?
Just open up some books. You need to learn a few things. They don't go to school now, so they don't have an idea of what the world is all about. I coached with the Lakers for 6 years there, and the guys coming into the league, they'd come in and I'd see them and they'd have 2 phones and an Xbox, no books. So I worry about them.
Do they spend a lot of money? Do you tell them to save their money?
Yeah, one of the things on that issue, I tell them pay their taxes and save their money, because when they stop playing, they'll be glad that they did that.
Let's talk a little bit about your health. You're as I mentioned before, 7'2". How are your knees?
My knees are fine.
And do you have any ailments other than you've had a bout of leukemia?
I've had a bout of leukemia
and some heart issues and stuff like that?
I had quadruple bypass surgery last year.
How do you feel? You feel good?
Very glad to be alive.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you start your day with a exercise regimen?
Yeah, I stretch and I'll jump some rope, do some calisthenics and stuff just to try to maintain.
Now, when you would be what I would call a very cerebral player, you had mental toughness. I had a son who played soccer, and when he was playing soccer, he would always be one step ahead where the ball was going. Did you do that? Did you treat basketball like a chess game that you're thinking ahead long before?
Yeah, you have to understand the dynamics of the game and where you can be most effective, and you need to be there at the right time. You know, being at the right place at the wrong time won't do you any good on the basketball court. So you got to be there at the right time.
How do you instill that kind of training in to a young player who thinks, like you said before, knows it all?
Well, you have to be able to anticipate where the ball's going to be and what's going to happen when the ball gets there. So, you know, teams have tendencies. You have to study that and understand how the guy that you're playing fits into that scheme and do things to frustrate his efforts. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's a chess game, absolutely.
I'm going to go off basketball for a second and get into some other subjects, and then obviously our audience will ask some basketball questions. But you grew up Catholic, am I correct? Mm-hmm. Then you converted to Islam. Mm-hmm. Why did you do that, and who made that inspiration for you? Who was your inspiration to make the change?
Well, I became curious about Islam after I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. And that really made me curious about what Islam was all about. And when I investigated it, I found truth and some stability. So that's why I embraced it. Mm-hmm.
Now, some people have described you as a man of mystery. I think you're a very outgoing and very intelligent person, but you also have an acting career, which a lot of us know about, and we're going to see a clip right now from Airplane. We'll go through that first, and then I'll come back and I'll ask you a question about it. Hopefully they'll show it here before.
I heard what you had to say about technology.
You're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You played basketball for the Los Angeles Lakers.
I'm sorry, son, but you must have me confused with someone else. My name is Roger Murdoch. I'm the co-pilot.
You are Kareem. I've seen you play. My dad's got season tickets.
I think you should go back to your seat now, Joey. Right, Clarence?
Oh, he's not bothering anyone. Let him stay here.
All right, but just remember, my name is Roger Murdoch. I'm an airline pilot.
I think you're the greatest, but my dad says you don't work hard enough on defense. And he says that lots of times you don't even run down court. And that you don't really try, except during the playoffs.
The hell I don't. Listen, kid. I've been hearing that crap ever since I was at UCLA. I'm out there busting my buns every night. Tell your old man to drag Walton and Lanier up and down the court for 48 minutes.
The reason we showed that, not to show any embarrassment, because I think it's a great acting job, but to show your versatility. You're just not great on the court, but you flew here commercially. When you go into an airport, you get on a plane, are people obnoxious and make comments about your time?
No, not really. You know, I get the most comments from pilots and stewardesses.
What do they say?
They'll just come in and say a line from the movie and say that they watched it. But you know, that kid that I was working against, just about 3 or 4 years ago, I met his wife at the airport in LA. He's in his 30s, he's in his late 30s now. And I met his wife, and She says he still brags about being in the scene with me.
That's funny. The other movie that I checked on, which I am totally impressed with, and I urge people to go see it, or watch this one clip, which goes for almost 10 minutes, and you're in with Bruce Lee, called Game of Death. But the interesting thing about this, it's you acting the whole time, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This man knows how to kickbox like I've never seen. Now, how did you go through that? You went for 9 minutes taking on Bruce Lee. Did you do it over a period of, how many hours did it take to film that thing?
Geez, we filmed all those scenes in about 4 days in Hong Kong.
Wow. That was it. I mean, he had great moves on the court, but you see him on that, and my son used to do karate, and my goodness gracious. Now, you had a closeness, a good friendship with Bruce Lee, is that correct? Tell me how that developed.
I started studying martial arts while I was in college, after my sophomore year. And I was in New York. I wanted to continue my studies while I was at UCLA. So I went to the people over at Black Belt magazine and asked them, who was teaching in Los Angeles. And they said that they knew there's this guy, he's an actor, but he's a real good martial artist. His name is Bruce Lee. He plays Kato on the Green Hornet.
Green Hornet, yeah.
So, yeah, I know who he is. So I went over and met Bruce, and I was immediately captivated by his passion and his skill. Very easy way, he told me that I needed to study with him. He had a heavy bag. He says, hit the heavy bag, kick it. He had me do that. And my kicks were really weak. So then he says, all right, get behind the bag. And then he had his wife come out and kick the bag and hit it. And I went flying off the bag. And I realized that, geez, if he could teach his wife to be that tough, I got to study with this guy. So I started studying with him, and we developed a friendship that lasted until he passed away in 1972.
Yeah, what a great guy. Let's talk about your books, your writing, your reading. When did you find the love of reading? As a child?
I found the love of reading when I was a child. My dad was an avid reader. He didn't have a big library, but he continually replenished it by taking his books down to the booksellers in Lower Manhattan. He'd sell his books and buy other books. They used to sell them by weight. I remember he took me down there a couple of times. I'm like, what are all these weird books? But I started to look inside them and realized that there was knowledge and information in there that could be crucial.
Do you remember the first book you read?
Dick and Jane.
That's fine.
That's the first one I read. I went to first grade, and then my parents enrolled me in Catholic school, and they moved me back a year. So I had to do first grade over, and I already knew how to read when I got to doing the first grade, repeating it. So the nuns just let me read whatever, and I kept reading.
Then when did you start the writing? When did you start writing?
I started writing while I was still in grade school. I always felt that it was a challenge. My history and English classes, I always tried to write the best essays.
And then when did you start deciding that you wanted to write some books?
I had an experience at UCLA. I was an English major, and our teachers said, we're going to do final grades on an essay. We all wrote essays. And he said he was going to read the 3 best essays. So I'm listening, they read 2 essays. I'm like, geez, I want to get out of class. And then he said, well, we're going to do the 3rd essay. And he starts reading my essay. He said this was the best one. I was like, wow. And that really gave me a feeling of confidence that I could write. Here I was, my English teacher felt that, I was one of the best writers in the class. And that confidence has enabled me to do what I do now.
For those that don't know, Kareem has written 10 books. This is his first novel right here. Many of the books are nonfiction, and this is your first fiction book. What was it like writing this book, and why did you come up with this subject, and not Sherlock Holmes, but talk about his older brother?
Mycroft Holmes is Sherlock Holmes' older and smarter brother. And in the original stories, he's referred to as being at least as smart as Sherlock and very perceptive. But they don't really flesh the character out. He's mentioned in about 5 or 6 stories, most notably The Greek Interpreter. But the character isn't developed, and obviously, if genius runs in that family, we need to know what Mycroft is all about. So I decided I would write about Mycroft Holmes, and I was inspired by another book that someone wrote about him. I felt that he would be a good subject, and I decided to go for it.
It's different writing fiction and nonfiction, isn't it?
Big difference. If you write nonfiction, you know, if your grammar is correct and your facts are, you know, on the mark, people won't judge you too hardly. Your book may or may not be successful, but they won't judge you too harshly. If you write fiction, the grammar can be wonderful, and you feel that the story is interesting, but if people don't like the story, you're a turkey.
That wasn't me.
I hope I'm not a turkey.
Let me ask you a little bit about, in addition to the fact that you write books, you've also written some essays for Time Magazine. Now you're doing some stuff for the Washington Post. You've done things for Sports Illustrated. How'd you get involved in that, and why?
I just felt that I had opinions about things, and I needed to express them. And those people were interested in seeing what I had to say.
Do you have future writings that you're going to be working on?
Yeah, the publisher is begging for a sequel to Mycroft Holmes, so we'll be doing that. And I'll continue writing for the Washington Post, and I have a book coming out with Time Books.
Oh, that's great. Now, some of these books look like they're perfect for movies. Do you think you'll ever take some of these books or turn it into a movie?
I hope so. I'd love to see Mycroft Holmes as a movie, because it talks about issues and a part of the world that people have ignored for so long. You know, I'm talking about the West Indies and just the English Empire outside of England. Most people don't know what it was all about.
Now, I want to go through some real quick questions. For one thing, you've been chosen U.S. Cultural Ambassador. What has that meant to you to do that job?
Cultural Ambassador really is there to answer questions from people in other countries that want to know about life in America. So Mrs. Clinton gave me the job. I went to Brazil. The people in Brazil were very taken with President Obama, because, like a lot of Americans, they did not think a black American could be elected President of the United States. And Mr. Obama won, and it really changed their attitude about democracy. They always thought that democracy was a sham, and when they saw what happened there, they realized that democracy might work in Brazil. So I did that.
Now, speaking of Obama, have you ever shot a couple baskets with him?
I haven't shot any baskets with the president, but we have talked hoops a little bit. He's seriously a player.
Yeah, he is.
It's interesting, but I heard that the best player in his cabinet is Susan Rice.
That's it.
She can play.
Can she play?
Oh yeah, she can play.
Now, of late, there's been a flat between you and a Dallas Mavericks player. What's all that about?
It's much ado about nothing. It wasn't really a flap. I was speaking at George Mason University, and the mentor asked me to critique Dirk Nowitzki, so I did. And the people in Dallas didn't appreciate the things that I had to say about him that were critical. They understand that he's a great shooter and scorer. I mentioned certain aspects of his defense and rebounding and shot blocking where he didn't really rise to the level of the immortals in the NBA, and I said that it kind of makes him a one-trick pony. They didn't like that.
That's a great headline.
So, yeah, they said a lot about it, but I have nothing against Dirk Nowitzki.
It doesn't help matters that their owner's pretty outspoken himself.
He got into it too, yeah.
I'm sure he said something.
Yeah, he had a lot to say, but I wasn't trying to single Dirk Nowitzki out and criticize him. He's had a great career. I have no animus toward him.
Now, you've also garnered some publicity lately on Donald Trump. You've written some stuff in the Washington Post. Tell me what you really think of Donald Trump.
Well, I described him as the Milli Vanilli of politics, and well, it's good to be here in Ohio. I see people agree with me.
You're in a very democratic area right now.
Well, that's good. Also, some of my favorite musicians are from this area. I never realized that.
Let's talk music a second, if you don't mind. When did you start your love for music? Was your father, he was a musician?
My dad played trombone. My dad played with some of the great beboppers at Minton's Playhouse. And I've been listening to the music probably since I was in the womb. Mm-hmm. I can't remember that far back. But I know once I got out of it, my parents really enjoyed Sarah Vaughan, Nat King Cole, Duke Ellington, Count Basie. So I grew up listening to that music.
And you answered my next question. Who are some of your favorite bands and artists? Give me your top 5 albums.
Geez, that's hard. I'll tell you, Dizzy Gillespie, Charlie Parker, Thelonious Monk, Miles Davis, John Coltrane are some of my favorites. And the 2 guys from this area are Art Tatum and Joe Henderson.
That's great. You know, in doing some research to talk to you, I've read some interesting things that you have a collection. You had a collection of rugs, Oriental rugs that you recently sold. What was that? Tell me about that.
Well, Oriental rugs are a manifestation of Islamic art, and I got into it and collected a few. I still have some of my collection. I'm auctioning some of the other ones. I had them all over the house, on walls and on the floor. I had a few too many, so I gave some to my kids and selling some and keeping the treasures. But Islamic art is really expressed in Oriental rugs. You know, the curvilinear designs and floral and geometric representations. Because in Islam, we're not supposed to depict human beings or animals. So, I got into that and had a collection of Oriental rugs.
And I also read that you were a coach at one time at an Indian reservation in California or somewhere on the west.
Arizona.
Arizona, okay.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
I was doing research on a book, and I wrote about the Buffalo Soldiers. And they were stationed at Fort Apache in Arizona for 50 years, from 1872 to 1922, when they closed the fort. So I went up to the fort. It's on the Apache reservation still, and was looking for information about the Buffalo Soldiers, and found out when I got there that they had sent all the archives back to D.C. But while I was there, I made friends with the tribal historian. And he said that the kids there weren't going to college. Maybe if I could go there and coach, that some of the kids would start thinking about, start thinking about college and apply themselves. So I decided to go and do that. I had not had anybody take me seriously as a coach up to that point. So I went out there and did that, and people started to notice that I was sincere about wanting to coach. And
Now, last night in preparation for this, I went and watched again the HBO documentary Kareem, A Minority of One. which is excellent, and I urge everyone to see it. That was the second time I saw it. Why did you do this documentary now?
Well, I did the documentary because I've been misunderstood throughout most of my life, and I didn't want to go to my grave not being able to tell my own story in a way that people would get it. So I decided to do this documentary, and had a chance to work with the HBO. They do really, the quality of their documentaries is first rate. So I decided to give it a shot.
As you look back at your career, both on the basketball court, as ambassador, as a writer, as an advocate, as occasionally a hellraiser, do you have any regrets?
Well, I think I should have been a little bit more accessible to the press while I played. It would have made a lot of things easier for me. But I didn't, the distrust was so great between me and the press that I couldn't allow myself to do that. So, you know, that's an opportunity that I missed. But for the most part, you know, I'm pretty pleased with my life.
Now, some people over the years have said, this man's aloof, he's shy, he's even surly. Now, I personally, in talking to you for the last day, find you careful in your answers, reserved, and you mentioned that sometimes you think you're misunderstood, and that's understood in the movie that I saw, or the documentary, that your intentions are good. Do you feel that that's a fair enough assessment, that you are misunderstood at times?
Oh, yeah. And, you know, it's basically just someone who, I didn't start talking to people really till I was in high school. You know, and people started, you know, the press started asking me questions. Other than that, I used to just stand in the corner and observe. You know, I was used to doing that. And, you know, just somebody who has a more reserved approach when I'm in social circumstances.
Well, these people have been good enough to listen to my questions. I'm certainly they have some questions. Kareem, thank you very much from me.
Oh, my
please,
pleasure.
I urge everyone for two things, and that is check out the books that he has up there, the ones that are left. Some of them, this one's even sold out, we're sorry to say, so that's good news for you. He will be doing autographs. I also urge you to watch the HBO documentary, which is quite good. And one more time before we open up, are we ready for some questions here? Okay, I will ask anybody if you want to come up to the microphone right here, or you can turn up the lights. And
we have
please,
3 microphones set up.
Come on up.
So we'll just line up and we'll do about 15 minutes of Q&A.
15 minutes of questions for Kareem.
I have a question. Kareem, we brought some of our chess students from Jones Leadership Academy here to see you. If you can stand up real quick over here and back there, just wave. And we would love you to tell them something that would motivate them to stay in chess, because we really love what they're doing. But if you can just say something to keep them going.
Well, I would tell all of you that the game of chess really will enable you to think in a, how do they say it? Think constructively about the consequences of things, because that's what chess is all about, figuring out what your moves will gain you. So it's a great study on life, the game of chess, because all of our actions have consequences. You'll find that out when you play chess and get whipped a couple of times, like I have. So stay with it, and hope to see you out there with the chess masters in a couple of years. Good luck to you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Kareem. So throughout your 20 years of playing professional NBA, who is your best teammate and why?
Geez, it's hard to say who my best teammate was. I played with a number of Hall of Famers, you know, but I'd say Magic, James Worthy, played with Oscar Robertson. You know, that's a pretty good trio right there.
Thank you, Kareem.
Yes, ma'am.
I just was wondering, what do you personally find as the most wonderful thing that you've done? What stands out with you?
The most wonderful thing I've done was to get all my kids through college. And they're all doing okay. You know, I have one son who's a counselor. He works for the Screen Actors Guild. I have another son that's an orthopedic surgeon, and my daughters, they're into writing. So I feel that I've getting that out of the way was really getting over the hump.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to ask this young man right here. Do you have a question?
He's a well-dressed young man too.
He's got a good.
Yeah.
What is your favorite NFL team and why?
Geez, I have to go with the team that I rooted for when I was a kid, which was the New York Giants.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I know, and I had to go to Yankee Stadium to.
It's over one of those microphones.
Oh, okay. I had to go to Yankee Stadium to watch the Giants too. That was difficult, but I did, and they finally didn't win it till they got LT. So, you're welcome.
Yes.
Hello, Kareem. Welcome to Toledo.
Thank you.
I've been a fan of yours since I came to this country in 1970 as a young kid. You were my first hero when I got into sports, and I really admired you not only as an athlete, but as just a cultural icon, a cultural hero, somebody who's outspoken about what they feel is truthful and just in life. And what I wanted to ask you, and after that, my kids and I would like to present you with a gift we made especially for you. What I wanted to ask you was, the state of things in this world right now, in a nutshell, are not, in this country, not friendly to Muslims in a lot of ways, especially with a lot of the rhetoric emanating from many of the presidential candidates and so forth. I'm sure, how do you deal with that personally, and how would you tell other Muslims in the United States to advice you would give them to that?
Well, my approach to that is just really to understand what the Prophet Muhammad said. He said that if the nation that you live in respects your rights to practice your religion, then that's your country and you should defend that country. So I absolutely believe in that. Muslims should be patriotic Americans. Muslims fought in the Revolutionary War with the French contingent. There was several squadrons of Muslim soldiers from Morocco that fought with the French contingent. And the Kingdom of Morocco was the very first country that recognized the United States as the sovereign nation. So we should really be trying to build bridges to Muslim nations and do whatever we can to fight ISIS and the barbarians that are trying to destroy the reputation of Islam. I think that's really what it should be about.
Thank you. Just wanted to say one more thing. My son Kareem, I named him after you.
Well, thank you.
And I love the meaning of the name, which means generosity for those of you that don't know. And my daughter Miriam would like to present you with a gift. I've owned a record store online for 30 years, and I'd like to, we made a special CD because I know you love music, especially handpicked for you. So I don't know who to give it to.
Thank you very much.
It's right here. They'd like to give it to you.
Okay. Okay. We'll be able to send somebody over and pick it up.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hey, Kareem. Two questions. We talked about your sky hook. It was so effective. Why do you think these young guys will not adapt that shot?
They don't want to adapt it because they're too busy putting their toes on the three-point line and trying to shoot three-pointers. I think the three-point shot really has changed the game a lot, where people aren't interested in seeing guys get close to the basket and try to dominate the game in that way.
Right. All right. Kobe or Mike?
Kobe or who?
Mike.
Mike. Geez, I don't know. That's a tough one. Two of the best ever. After that, I couldn't Fortunately, I didn't have to guard either one of them. So I'll just let other people who know more about that answer your question. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Kareem.
Hi.
Do you have a favorite story from, say, 82 to 88 that would illustrate what it was like to play with the Showtime Lakers, of which I was a huge fan?
I do have a favorite story. We came up to the Silverdome to play the Detroit Pistons. It was Magic's first game as a professional athlete in Michigan. And the Silverdome sat 30,000 people for basketball. We go out there to play the game. There were about 5,000 Detroit Pistons fans and 30,000 Magic fans. It was the most incredible experience I've ever had away from my home court. The people loved Magic so much and wanted to see him win, and just basically chased the Pistons out of the Silverdome that night. Pretty amazing, but you know, the Showtime Lakers, we had that kind of popularity at various times.
Yes, sir.
Living in New York with your family, did you have any pets?
No, I didn't. I lived in housing projects and we couldn't have any pets other than goldfish and stuff like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Welcome, Kareem.
Thank you.
I'm a big Celtics fan, so.
It's okay.
Don't hold that against me. When you were being recruited from UCLA, read in a book by John Wooden that he said he could either make you, or you could be one of the greatest big men in college, or you could be with him and win national championships. When he said that to you, did you have any reservations about going to UCLA?
No, I didn't have any reservations about going to UCLA. When I went out there for my visit, I just was taken with the place, and I had gotten letters while I was in high school. I got one letter from Jackie Robinson and then another letter from Dr. Ralph Bunch telling me that UCLA was a great place to go to school and I'd have a good experience, and they were right.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Hi, Kareem. I just have a question about your 20-year career, and I know a lot of trash talk and things go on between players, of course, and some of the very famous things that have happened, like Michael Jordan dunking on Patrick Ewing, things of that nature. What was your most standout moment?
What stands out?
Standout moment where you know, maybe dunked on someone, a block.
Probably my second year in the league, we were playing the Lakers in the playoffs, and I got about 2 or 3 consecutive dunks over Wilt.
Okay.
Kind of really frustrated him. And I was able to block one of his dunk shots. But, you know, Wilt was, Shaq talks about how dominant he was. I don't know if Shaq could have handled Wilt, man. Wilt was an incredible athlete and the strongest person I've ever encountered. I used to see him in the summers in New York, and he'd be at the Y gym in Harlem, and, you know, bench pressing 275, 300 pounds. I never seen anybody with that kind of strength and that kind of agility.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir.
We all wish you very good health so you can continue making the important contributions you've been doing. 2 simple questions. One is, are you very disappointed that you were not an NBA head coach? And 2, you're in charge of the country. What 3 changes are you going to make in the United States?
Well, I am disappointed that I didn't get more of an opportunity to coach. But, you know, there are valid reasons for that. And you're asking if I were president?
Dictator.
If I was dictator of the United States.
What you say goes.
Geez, that's a hard one. Geez, I don't know. I would eliminate all that crazy rock and roll that they're playing. And make him go back to the swing era where get to listen to Count Basie and Duke Ellington. I would make Count Basie and Duke Ellington required listening for all grade school students.
Yes.
Hi.
How you doing?
How did you feel after every time you played the Pistons?
How did I feel after I played the Pistons?
Yeah.
Usually I felt okay. We beat the Pistons all the time until my last year when they beat us and won the World Championship, and they certainly deserved to do that. So there's no hard feelings. I had an interesting moment with the Pistons in that I overheard the Piston ball boys saying that they didn't like going in the locker room after halftime because Bob Lanier and Coach Ray Scott smoked in the shower at halftime. And that gave me an idea, because I knew if Bob Lanier was smoking cigarettes at halftime, if I made him run in the second half of the game, he'd be in pain. So I kind of used that against Bob. But Bob and I are friends, and I think that's the most interesting thing that happened to me playing against the Pistons.
We've got a group over here. You got a question?
Did you enjoy playing basketball, and how old were you when you first started?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear your question. I'm sorry.
Did you enjoy playing basketball, and how old were you when you first started?
I first started playing basketball in the 4th grade, and I enjoyed it, but it took a while before I was good at it. But it was a challenge for me, and I stuck with it until I got good. And that's why I was able to do what I've been able to do as a professional athlete. Thank you for your question.
We're going to ask this young man right here.
Who do you think could ever break your record?
Geez, there are a number of players that Stephen Curry might break it this year. But Karl Malone had a chance and he got hurt. Kobe had a shot and he got hurt. LeBron had a chance and now he's sitting out games. I'm wondering if I will see anybody break my record while I'm alive. So I don't know. But records were made to be broken, and I will not be surprised when mine are broken.
That's a good question. Yes, sir.
Hi, Cap. I'm a recent transplant to Toledo from Los Angeles, where I worked at UCLA in the Film and Television Archive, and my wife earned her PhD in the English department. We came to Toledo so my wife could take a job teaching at UT, where she now teaches African American literature, and I'm a big LA fan as well. My question is, today, if you had the opportunity to play in the NBA in your prime, you played with some fantastic point guards, obviously Magic and the Big O. What
Right.
point guard or point guards today, which seemingly we have a renaissance of fantastic point guards now, who would you see yourself enjoying playing with or would most want to play with?
Geez, guys that I've seen that I've enjoyed, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Deron Williams. They all get it done. I watched John Hall the other night. He's incredible. And of course, Stephen Curry.
Sure. And what jazz albums do you find yourself going back to again and again?
Geez, Unity, Larry Young. Kind of Blue, Miles Davis. Giant Steps, John Coltrane. The Atomic album by Count Basie. Let's see, I got one more. Miles Davis, Porgy and Bess. One of the best ever.
Great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes?
If you could describe your basketball career in one word, what would it be?
Quick. That's 20 years that went by on a rocket. I don't know where they went. It seems like I just retired, and it's 27 years ago. So it went by really quick.
And do you think any of your records will be broken?
I'm thinking they all will be broken, but I don't know if I'll live to see them all broken. They've gotten to some of them, but some of those that they got to, like my record for block shots. The first 4 years of my career, they didn't keep stats in block shots, and that's when I had a lot of block shots. So I'd have a lot more. if they had counted those years. They don't. Bill Russell probably blocked more shots than anybody, and they didn't count any of his. So that's just the way it goes. But I'm not upset about it.
This young woman right here.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Did you enjoy playing baseball?
I definitely enjoyed playing baseball. I just wish that my fastball could go over the plate with more regularity. Then maybe I could have been a pitcher, but I didn't have Randy Johnson as a role model. He's a 6'11" pitcher and Hall of Famer. So I probably could have made it as a pitcher, but I needed somebody to show me all the issues having to do with control, because I could throw it hard, but sometimes it'd go up in the stands.
Yes, sir.
Out of all the basketball greats, where would you rank yourself and where would you rank Earl Montegault?
Geez, Earl was a great street player, but he wouldn't have made it in an organized system because he wasn't too keen on giving up the ball, and he didn't have an outside jump shot, so he wouldn't have made it. Your first question?
Where would you rank yourself all time?
Geez, I wouldn't rank myself all time. I know I belong in the argument, and I'll let the fans decide that. It's not important to me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Can we do about 3 more?
3 more.
Yes. 3 more questions. Okay.
Hi, Kareem. How are you?
I'm great.
So, controversial question here. 7-game series, Showtime Lakers or this year's Golden State Warriors?
That'd be a great series. It would depend on how they let us play defense. Because if they let us play defense the way we play defense, very physical, maybe we could slow the Warriors down. I'm not saying we could. You have to play the games on the court to find out how they're going to end out. So we'll never know. That's why they have sports bars, so people can get their wings and their beers and argue about those things. I know you have a lot more fun doing that than trying to figure all of that out.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Kareem. My name is Juwan. And sometimes, when I'm bored at home, I watch highlights on YouTube of kind of old players like you and Karl Malone. No offense. And I look at how you guys are so good around the rim and how you guys can finish. But today we have players like Dwight Howard and DeAndre Jordan who they don't have that post game like you guys, and they're really they get garbage points basically. And I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about that?
Well, I think that there are cycles in the game. So playing the game a certain way comes in favor and then it goes out of favor. So, you have guys that fit into certain cycles of popularity and some people that don't. It's just the nature of the game that there are cycles like that. Thank you for your question.
One quick more.
Well, here's our last question right here. Go ahead.
With me being a big man and I wasn't tall as you at 12 years old, what would you give me some advice on?
Well, what I give you, not as tall as I was at 12, but you want to play basketball?
I already do play basketball. I just want to learn.
Okay. The thing for you to learn is whatever position you play, learn the fundamentals. If you're a guard, learn how to handle the ball with both hands, make layups with both hands. Learn how to shoot that jump shot from 15 to 20 feet so that you can attack the basket and shoot the J when they back off on you. That's all you have to learn. And learn how to hit your teammates when they're open. They will really appreciate you for that. And you'll get to handle the ball a lot more if you do that. If you don't do that, they're going to find some way to get rid of you. So good luck to you. And just remember, fundamentals are the key.
What I love about this event tonight is we have a lot of kids here, so we want to let this gentleman right here ask the last question. Okay, go ahead.
Kareem?
Hi.
How do you understand French?
Am I what?
Do you understand him?
Yes, I can understand him.
On peut parler le français?
Une très petite, quelques mots seulement.
What?
Je parle quelques mots seulement. Comment allez-vous?
Do you have airplane?
Yes.
How many wife are you?
How many what? Wives?
I can't understand.
No, I'm living free and easy right now.
Tom, thank you.
I have no wives right now.
Thank
I have
you.
children. You're welcome. And I have a granddaughter. She was just born December of last year, and she has soul in my heart. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me once again in thanking Kareem for joining us here today. Thank you all for being here.